Good afternoon, Jordan Sheridan, live with Status Quo. It is Friday, May 31st, wearing my Status Quo hat, so you know it's a big day. Welcome to TGIF. Although, Status Quo, our week's not over, folks. Our week is not over here at Status Quo. We will be live Sunday, noon Eastern Time, right here, same channel, for the marathon you've been waiting for. And boy, do we have one heck of a surprise for you this Sunday. Woo, child. Big surprise coming up Sunday. Big surprise. So I hope you will, in excitement for the surprise, you will get the party started right now. Donate. We are so close. 600 and something dollars away from $55,000 in that GoFundMe. When you see the surprise this Sunday, you are going to want and you are going to enjoy donating to that GoFundMe, because the surprise we have, yes, is going to require some more fundraising. So get us started. Jen is in the super chat. It is a super chat, so if you could do a GoFundMe, you could do a super chat, whatever floats your boat. I'll read your super chat live, and if you leave a GoFundMe, I will read your comment if you leave a comment. We do prefer GoFundMe only because super chat and YouTube takes 30%. 30% these people take. Remember your checklist. I need you to smash the like button, smash it into smithereens, smash it like it's Joe Biden telling you he's the most electable against Donald Trump. Smash it like it's Nancy Pelosi telling you Hillary Clinton telling me Medicare for all will never, ever come to pass right here in the United Corporations of America. Smash it like it's John Bolton coming to your Thanksgiving dinner and giving you tips on how to groom your mustache. Smash it. Now, I'm going to skip everything else because we got a big show. I want you to also consider becoming a Status Quo member, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. So, I was about to come on air, and remember, it's very important. We got 180 people watching, but we only have 90 likes. So the like button is right under this video. So thumbs up is the like button. I need you all to press that thumbs up button. I don't really care if you like me or not. Just fake it. Press the like button. The more people that press the like button, the more people that will see the live stream. And we want to get as many eyeballs here. YouTube does their best to suppress this and other independent media channels, but you can help us with that suppression by smashing that like button and also pressing the share button. So you press like and share. That gets it out to more people. Jen is putting the link to become a Status Quo member. Right now, we are at 410 Status Quo members. We do need to change that because it says 409. We're at 410. We got to grow our membership. If you got $5 to $10 a month, what is real independent journalism worth to you? What is real in the field, independent media worth it to you? Can you spend $5 to $10 a month to help us out at Status Quo, to help us grow the media revolution? Because I got news for you. That surprise coming up on Sunday might have something to do with the campaign and covering this campaign. Just saying. So if you've been on the fence, what are you doing? Head over to statusquo.com/join. Become a member right now for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Thank you, Dave H., getting us started in the super chat. Nancy Pelosi works too. She said she will block any vote on Medicare for all. That is true. And there's a very, very important story that important video that we just published here. My interview with a father whose son just killed himself, tragically killed himself after an insurance company canceled his health insurance over $20. A mentally ill young man, 29 years old. He had depression and psychosis. Fidelis Healthcare canceled his health insurance in the middle of March. When he called them, he paid the $20 bill, but they told him, we He called them April 1st. They told him you'll be covered as of May 1st. He said, I can't wait till May 1st. I'm out of medication. Fidelis said, too bad. Well, without medication for his depression and psychosis, he became very, very depressed, very, very suicidal. He super glued his seatbelt to himself and drove his car off a bridge into a river and died. So that interview is now up. So, before I came live, I got an email from Bernie Sanders' campaign manager, Faiz Shakir, who I'll be interviewing next week. So we got an interview ready to go. Well, I'll be interviewing him on Monday. Again, Bernie Sanders' campaign manager, Faiz Shakir. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I should probably figure that out before I interview him. And he gave Status Quo a heads up on a memo that they're going to be sending out to the elite corporate media. And he did say elite media in the email. So I got it a couple minutes before I was going to go live and started tweeting out details of the memo. And the memo is a very, very, very clear backlash and fighting back against the corporate media, say it with me, corporate media narrative and propaganda that looks very, very similar to 2016. Remember when they were basically pushing to coronate Queen Hillary in 2016? Well, if you haven't noticed, between Politico doing a story calling Bernie Sanders a cheap Jew with all these dollar bills behind his image, or the New York Times doing a story basically trying to paint Bernie Sanders as a communist sympathizer, or the Washington Post, one of their columnists does 4 or 5 nasty anti-Bernie Sanders pieces a week. I'm talking to you, Jennifer Rubin. The corporate media is out of control in the smears and propaganda against Bernie Sanders, but they're also in control in trying to prop up Joe Biden's campaign. Even though Joe Biden can barely fill out a bingo hall. He has empty seats when he goes to bingo halls. I'm exaggerating on the bingo hall. I don't know if he's actually gone to one. But Joe Biden could barely fill out his campaign kickoff in Philadelphia. His campaign said it was 6,000 people showed up in Philadelphia, where he's from. He's from Scranton, so he's from Pennsylvania. Joe Biden could barely fill out that. They said it was 6,000. People in attendance said it was closer to 3,000. So you got 3,000 people for your campaign kickoff rally. His campaign is barely putting him out there on the road. He's only campaigning about 2 times a week, because when he does campaign, he either says things that are awful or he does creepy things. If you saw, Jen did a video earlier this week for us on the fact that he pulled in another young child, put his hands on that young child's shoulder, bent in near that young child's hair, and looked like a creep. So, the media is painting Joe Biden as, the most electable, just like they were saying about Hillary Clinton, even though the data doesn't back that up. So Bernie Sanders' campaign, in a move that I like, is pushing back on that. Here is the first part of the memo, and I'm going to read it to you. I hope you could read it. I couldn't fit it on the full screen, but I'm going to read it here. So this is from Bernie Sanders' campaign. They'll be sending this out to reporters, I guess, tonight. But Status Quo got first dibs, which we appreciate. Stories from elite media over the past couple of weeks suggest that the 2020 race for the Democratic nomination is done. Hang it up. A CNN story last week asked, what if Joe Biden runs away with this thing? Separate CNN and Washington Post stories declared Senator Bernie Sanders' campaign all but over. In 2015, many leading outlets ignored Sanders' candidacy, assuming it would not have much impact. Now, 4 years later, after having shown significant impact and growth, many media outlets are prematurely declaring that the movement is dead. Yes, Biden is the incumbent frontrunner, but according to the data, Bernie is by far the leading challenger and contender. A coronation isn't actually happening. Rather, a primary is taking shape. Voters are going to become more engaged and more educated about the race in the coming months. Bernie's campaign has solidified its position in key early states. That has happened as this campaign continues to build the largest volunteer base in the field. In a 4-day swing through the South earlier this month, Sanders events drew more than 10,000 people to rallies and town hall meetings. In a 24-hour period this past weekend, Sanders events drew more than 2,300 people in the first-in-the-nation primary state of New Hampshire. And Bernie 2020 is staffing up in key primary states. So I want to go through that and give you my thoughts, but a few reminders. We got 305 people watching right now, but only 150 likes. I need 150 more of you watching right now to press the like button. The more people that press the like button, the more people that will see this live stream. So it's the thumbs up right under the video. We got 308 watching, 150 likes. Smash the like button like it's the elite media telling you Joe Biden is going to be president. Smash it, smash it, smash it. Also, want to give a heads up to those of you just tuning in, and thank you, Kelly Elaine just hit us with a $20 GoFundMe donation. We are trying to raise money through our GoFundMe so we could get out on the campaign trail. Jen will put the link in there. Any amount counts. The minimum is $5 in GoFundMe. If every single one of you watching right now leaves $5, we will be in really, really good shape. And again, we have a big surprise this Sunday for our marathon live stream beginning at noon Eastern. We're also going to have interviews with NSA whistleblower Bill Binney on the continued hysteria about Russiagate. We're going to have interviews with a grieving father that I just told you that story where his son just killed himself, sadly, because his greedy insurance company canceled his insurance over a $20 bill. And this young man had depression and psychosis. We're also going to have a surprise for you, like I said, and that surprise is about the 2020 campaign and status quo's role in it. So I hope $5, $10, $20, go to that GoFundMe right now. Now, key parts about this memo, and I want to read it again, the first part to you. Hold on, farewell. When Bernie Sanders' campaign puts out this information, when Bernie Sanders' campaign puts out, this is not a coronation, it's a primary. And when they talk about the elite media, one thing they're leaving out, and I'd love to know your thoughts in the super chat. Everybody kind of talks about we can't normalize Donald Trump. And I agree with that. But we also need to make very clear, Politico.com literally wrote a piece with Bernie Sanders, a Jewish man, with dollar bills behind him and referring to him as cheap in the story. No. Politico is in a super PAC. It's supposedly a news organization. So it's now being normalized that corporate media outlets push stories depicting Bernie Sanders as a cheap Jew. The New York Times did a piece recently depicting Bernie Sanders as a communist sympathizer. I just want everyone to let this sink in because we've become so attuned to corporate media propaganda about Bernie Sanders that I don't want it to become normal that this is being done, because it's not normal. This is not journalism. This is a public relations assault. Public relations. What Politico is doing, what the New York Times is doing, what the Washington Post is doing is a public relations political assault for the Democratic Party and on behalf of Joe Biden to try and take Bernie Sanders out. I'm not someone who uses the term fake news. I think it is a dangerous term because I think Trump uses it how fascists and authoritarian leaders use it, which is to basically neutralize and dismiss any critical story about them, even ones that are factual. Fake news, fake news, fake news. So I'm not going to call these outlets fake news. What I'm going to call them is propaganda. What I'm going to call these outlets is arms of the Democratic establishment and arms of the corporate Democratic establishment. And in this memo, Bernie Sanders' campaign does hit the elite media, but they don't go into detail about these shameful stories because, frankly, they're trying to keep a positive spin and they're trying not to make it look like they're sore losers. But I hope, and I'm going to read you the rest of the memo in one moment, I really hope that Bernie's campaign, in addition to pointing out that this is not a coronation, because the corporate media is already trying to coronate Joe Biden, even though Joe Biden could barely fill out a bingo hall, even though Joe Biden's rallies are half empty, even though Joe Biden's campaign is purposely trying to find small venues because they know he can't fill out a bigger venue. Well, does that sound similar to a previous candidate that the Democratic Party told you to fall in line for? Thank you, the Rabadio, Go Jordan, $14.99 in the super chat. Appreciate it. Keep it coming. Does that sound similar? Because I was told, and you were told, fall in line. Hillary's the most electable. Even though when I was on the road covering Hillary Clinton's rallies, they were like Joe Biden's rallies. Older people, mostly older people, not full, even at college campuses. At college campuses. I remember covering Hillary Clinton's rally at the end of the general election in New Hampshire at a college. It was mostly older people in attendance at a college university. Are you seeing any similarities? Yet we were told, oh, no, Hillary's the most electable. Hillary will beat him, particularly in those Midwest states. There's a Democratic firewall. It's deja vu, folks. And the difference this time, and I admit, I didn't look as closely in 2016 as I am right now into the polls. The corporate media, thank you, Mike, $9.99 in the super chat. Thanks for honest reporting, he says. Thank you for your viewership. And remember, press the like button, press the share button. YouTube, I don't want to harp on YouTube. YouTube suppresses us every single day. For those of you who don't know, we are live Monday through Friday, 5 o'clock Eastern time. Do not expect to get a notification when we're live. Do not expect to always get a notification 15 minutes after we're live, 20 minutes after we're live, a half hour after we're live, or even an hour after we're live. Sometimes you might not even get notified that we're live, even if you're a subscriber or if you click the bell for all notifications, because YouTube, as I like to call it, is FuTube. So what I tell my viewers, it's a pain. Just put a reminder in your phone, your iPad, your laptop, your pocket, whatever, or on your refrigerator. Status Coup, Monday through Friday, 5 o'clock Eastern time. Occasionally we're a few minutes late, like today, but we're around 5 o'clock Eastern time, 2 o'clock Pacific. Also, Sundays, we do special marathon fundraising live streams where we have great interviews, great topics. I believe we're the only ones that are live on Sunday in the progressive sphere. So noon Eastern, be there on Sunday. We're going to have some great surprises this Sunday. So Bernie Sanders' campaign sending out this memo shows they are trying to prevent the same thing from happening in 2020 that is happening in 2016. And they're calling out the corporate media, which is essentially serving as propaganda arms of Joe Biden's campaign, Kamala Harris's campaign, Beto O'Rourke's campaign. They've tried them all. First, they tried to push Queen Kamala, but we'll have a story up on our website. That's statuscoup.com. Go to our website, become a member, statuscoup.com/join for as low as $5 to $10 a month. You get great bonus content. We'll talk about that more later. They tried to push Kamala first. Then they tried to push Beto. Neither one of those rose in the polls. Now they're trying to push Biden. But the problem is nobody likes Joe Biden other than older people. And I'm not knocking older folks. And by the way, to remind folks, there's a lot of older progressive Bernie Sanders voters, even in this audience. Joe Biden must have been the one person to press the dislike button on this live stream. But what I think Bernie's campaign is doing correctly is saying, no. We're not gonna play this game anymore. We're gonna call out the media for their coronation, and we are going to fight back against the corporate media. Let me read the second part of the memo, because they wanted to send out some national and early state polls to point out that Bernie's is not. Let me see. Ty, I'm live right now.
Oh, okay.
But can I tell the audience that you are currently reporting for Status Coup at the Bernie rally in Pasadena?
I am currently reporting for Status Coup at the Bernie rally in Pasadena right now. I was calling Jordan because I just tried to use the credit card to get some batteries and it declined. So I wanted to make sure we were straight.
Oh, thanks for telling the audience of 380 people that. All right. I got to go. Goodbye. Oh, Status Coup. Always a pleasure. So, latest national polls and latest polls in key states. Morning Consult's most recent tracking poll shows Bernie gaining support in a solid second place position nationally and with more than double the support of the next nearest candidate. The same poll showed Sanders with a 74% favorable rating among Democratic voters. That's important because essentially 74% favorable rating among Democratic voters indicates and counteracts the corporate media spin that Bernie can't win among all Democratic voters. A 74% favorability rating is pretty good, to quote my friend Larry David. Then they point out a YouTube YouGov's new poll shows Sanders leading among Democratic voters who are only considering voting for one candidate, and he's also being considered by more than 40% of voters, equal to Joe Biden. Thank you, Edwin, $5 in the super chat. Here's a little cash to help Ty. You guys are the best, Jordan. Thank you, Edwin. Don't worry, it probably declined because do you ever get that annoying fraud alerts from your bank? We get it all the time. I don't even want to get into our bank, although it's a credit union because we do not belong to an evil bank. Corporate bank that is investing in these pipelines. We belong to a credit union, but we got to change credit unions because they're a pain in the ass, and we get declined way too often because they have insane fraud alerts. Anyway, the fact that he is also being considered by more than 40% of voters is also very important because the corporate media is trying to make it seem like, the Bernie movement is fading. The Bernie movement is shrinking. Bernie has lost... The voters are losing the burn for Bernie. Well, if 40% of voters if he's being considered by more than 40% of voters, that's equal to Mr. Inevitable or King Joe Biden. Thank you, Knock Mumblewick, $5 in the super chat. Appreciate it. The recent National Hill Harris X poll showed Biden losing 13 points nationally in just 2 weeks, with Sanders maintaining his second place position. I don't know about you folks. Do you remember hearing that on CNN? That Joe Biden has lost 13 points nationally in just 2 weeks, with Sanders maintaining his second place position? Jen, have you heard that on CNN or MSNBC? I know it's hard to hear anything between like the impeachment and Russiagate hysteria. I haven't heard that. I haven't heard any of that. So, again, more good poll numbers for Bernard Sanders that you never hear in the corporate media. The most recent National Change Research poll showed Sanders 9 points behind Biden and with a large lead among Latinx and young voters. Latina voters are going to be important in California and Nevada and many other states, but particularly in those early states, Latino voters are going to be very important in California, very important in Nevada, and Bernie Sanders is in the lead with Latinx and younger voters. They also point out that the most recent National Quinnipiac poll showed Sanders' position the largest month-to-month gain. Sanders posting the largest month-to-month gain of +5 of any candidate in the race. It also showed particularly strong favorable and unfavorable numbers for him among African Americans, 66% favorability as opposed to 19% disapproval, and Latinos, 49% favorability as opposed to 30% disapproval. What's remarkable about this? Bernie Sanders is the only candidate posting. He's posting of all the candidates the largest month-to-month gain. Yet his movement is fading, we're told. Yet people aren't feeling the burn like they were in 2016. I've heard a variation of all of this from Nate Silver, that brainiac with 538, from this idiot Harry Enton, the forecaster on CNN, from MSNBC, who's basically bending over and reporting what Joe Biden's campaign tells it to. Well, if Joe Biden is down 13 points nationally in just 2 weeks, if Bernie Sanders has grown the most, over 5 percentage points, an increase in 5 percentage points compared to the last month, how is it that Joe Biden is Mr. Inevitable. I don't really get that logic. Thank you, Robodio1 499 in the super chat. This is a super chat, and we're very, very much pushing our GoFundMe. So we appreciate GoFundMe contributions. We just got $40 on our GoFundMe. Let me show you. $40 on our GoFundMe from Anonymous, $5 from David Greenstein, $20 from Robert Kearney. So now we are just, oh my God, we're just $600 away from $55,000. Can we get that $600 between 400 people watching? Hey, if you got $5 to $10, drop it in the GoFundMe, because you're going to see this coming weekend, we are, let me repeat this. I'm looking straight into the camera. We are the only progressive, keyword, progressive, another keyword, independent outlet in the field covering Bernie Sanders' campaign and hopefully soon Tulsi Gabbard's campaign. The only one. No offense to my old stomping grounds. I don't believe they're out there. Democracy Now!, love you. I don't think they're out there. The Intercept, love you. Don't think you're out there. It's no knock. There's financial concerns and this and that, but Status Quo is out there, and that's part of the big surprise we have. Tune in Sunday at noon Eastern. We are out there. And by the way, because I firmly believe in the vision for Status Quo, I firmly believe that we can become the preeminent in the field, grassroots, media revolution, covering real stories of real corruption, injustice, covering the Bernie campaign, Tulsi's campaign, challenging Biden and Kamala and Beto's campaign. I have fronted some of the money so we could go out there. I am fronting, not a small amount, so we could go out there because I believe in status quo. And if I don't believe, I can't ask other people to believe. So we hope you will donate to the GoFundMe. And we also hope, folks, if you have one choice today, if you have one choice, and I promise, I'm going to get back to the memo in 1 second. If you have one choice today between GoFundMe or membership, we want you to become a Status Quo member. Membership is how we grow. We have 410, we got to change that graphic, 410 paying Status Quo members. That's monthly or annually. That goes with our 336 patrons. So between Patreon and our website's membership, we now have almost 750 paying members a month. This is how we could grow. This is how we could go out in the field and cover the campaign. This is how we could stay on stories like Flint. This is how we could stay on pipeline fights all over the country. This is how we can get there and cover local candidates like maybe the next Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. We could go out there in the field and highlight and cover. We have the will. We have the way. We know what people want, and that is aggressive in the field journalism that is not 24/7 Trump, Russia, porn stars, Stormy Daniels, and the Russian boogeyman and impeachment. We're not going to do that. No, that's not what Status Quo does. So we hope you'll go statusquo.com/join. If you go there, you'll see our options and sign up. You get great bonus content and all that. We're putting more bonus content up just for members in June than we ever have before. So back to the memo. They highlight in the early states, they highlight. Thank you. Wow, Robodio, 99.99 in the super chat. We thank you, Robodio1. That's so kind and generous of you. Thank you. If you want to keep contributing, because that's your third contribution, head over to the GoFundMe, because these criminals at YouTube take 30% of our super chat contributions. But either way, thanks for the super chat. We really appreciate that amount. So I think, to me, the best number on this graph is the first one. The most recent Iowa starting line change research poll found Sanders tied with Biden atop the field in the first in the nation caucus state. Both candidates had nearly double the support of the next closest candidate. Sanders had made headlines in Iowa recently with his comprehensive plan to challenge corporate agribusiness. Thank you, Schultzy100, $5. Biden's a butthole. Biden sure is something. And by the way, I'm not discouraging super chat. Feel free to leave in the super chat. That's cool too. So what I think is remarkable here, Jen, I don't know what you mean we emailed We emailed instructions to Jasmine. You got to be more specific. What I think is remarkable here, if you remember in 2016 in February, I believe it was, because I was there freezing my behind off, Bernie Sanders was down 0.1% to Hillary Clinton. Not even a full point. He was down 0.1 point to Hillary Clinton. And CNN, MSNBC, all of them, they called the election. They called the election for Queen Hillary in Iowa, even though not every caucus precinct was in, and Bernie was down 0.1 point. Let me tell you something. That election would have dramatically changed if Bernie Sanders was the declared winner in Iowa. I say declared because I think Bernie Sanders actually won Iowa. I think they scammed him, and I think they scammed him in several other states based on me looking at the exit polls and doing my research. I was out there on the campaign trail. There was not an equal amount of enthusiasm for Hillary Clinton as compared to Bernie Sanders. Bernie had more energy on the ground. I think he won. And the reason I bring that up is by this poll. Thank you, Maddie Perry, $4.99 in the super chat. Biden will drop after he loses Iowa. Can't wait to see him backing Bernie. Yeah, there's a better chance of me backing Dick Cheney than Joe Biden ever backing Bernie Sanders. Mark my words. But what I think is really important about this is Sanders is tied with Biden atop the field in Iowa. Both candidates had nearly double the support of the next closest candidate. Sanders made headlines in Iowa recently with his comprehensive plan to challenge corporate agribusiness. Why this is going to be so important? Iowa, like New Hampshire, they don't respond to titles. The fact that Biden is the former vice president isn't going to help him. They don't respond to really, the corporate media narrative. What the voters in Iowa and what the voters in New Hampshire respond to is effort, persistence, and who they see and hear from and speak with the most. Well, if you have Bernie Sanders, who at this point has visited Iowa more than any other candidate. As far as I know, Bernie Sanders has done more events in Iowa than any other candidate. When you have Bernie Sanders compared to Joe, I'll show up and campaign every third week, Biden, I mean, there's been many stories out there about how he's barely campaigning. And I think he's the only Democrat that, I think he's the only Democrat that is not going to the California Democratic Convention this coming Sunday. I believe he's the only Democrat not going to the California Democratic Convention this Sunday. By the way, maybe part of our surprise has to do with that. The California Democratic Convention. Hint, hint. GoFundMe. So when you see the memo, there is very little chance, unless they totally rig the election, which there is a chance of them doing that, of course. There is very, very little chance Joe Biden will campaign in Iowa even a quarter of the amount of time as Bernie Sanders does. Bernie Sanders is going to be seen and heard by the voters in Iowa way more than Joe Biden. I also think Joe Biden is not a good debater. And if he's on stage with Bernie Sanders in that first debate, which I think the DNC is probably going to rig it to make sure Bernie and Biden are not on the same debate stage, it's a random selection. Nothing is random when it comes to the Democratic National Committee, if you ask me. And remember, if you haven't pressed the like button on this live stream, go ahead and press the like button. It's right under the video. Thumbs up. More people that press like, more people that see. We got 455 people watching, only 333 likes. So we need 100 and something more likes. So I think Bernie, if he's tied right now with Biden, I think he's going to get out in the lead in Iowa because he's going there more. He's the only one that has had actually proposed a specific plan for agro-business. He has proposed to basically get rid of these corporate agro treacherous thefts like Monsanto. So I think Bernie is in good shape, really good shape, when it comes to Iowa. I also like this poll. The most recent Nevada Change Research poll found Sanders just 5 points behind Biden in the early caucus state of Nevada. Sanders was lauded by the state's teachers for his strong education policy rollout earlier this week. 5 points is not small, but it's very early, and Bernie didn't lose by that much in Nevada last time. And more importantly, Bernie is winning among young Latinos Well, what is the difference between 2016 and 2020? Millions of more young Latinos, and Nevada has a big Latino population, are eligible to vote. And I got news for you. They're not burning for Biden. The most recent California Change research found Sanders 7 points behind Sanders in that Super Tuesday tape. While Biden has decided to skip the California Democratic Party convening this weekend, Bernie will be attending and traveling all over the state to earn support. California is a tough state because California is like a small country. California is bigger than a lot of countries around the world. California, the north, is different than the south and different than the central California. So Bernie Sanders is going to have to cover a lot of ground. California, name recognition does count. The fact that Joe Biden was vice president will make a difference because there's a lot of old money in California. And if you're watching and you're from California, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So Bernie's going to have to work hard. But I think Bernie can win California because I think California in the past has been behind progressive, anti-establishment, revolutionary candidates. Bobby Kennedy was a progressive candidate preaching change. He won the California primary, if you remember, in 1968, and he was killed on the same night, which is an entire different story, which I don't want to get into because Jen will get depressed. You mentioned the Kennedys with this person, she gets very depressed. She loves herself, the Kennedy assassinations and conspiracy theories, and I'm convinced the CIA killed him now. I've looked into it enough. I've watched enough documentaries. It was the CIA, and nobody could tell me otherwise. Now, what I think is important about Bernie Sanders' campaign doing this, well, first of all, I appreciate that they sent me this memo before they sent it to other reporters, which means I guess they appreciate my work and they're giving me a heads up on the memo. For those of you coming in late, I'll be interviewing Bernie Sanders' campaign manager, Faiz Shakir, on Monday. So we'll have that interview for you as soon as we can after we do it. I think what's really important about them sending out this memo is they're already seeing deja vu from 2016. They're already seeing the corporate media and the Democratic Party's efforts to coronate Joe Biden. They tried to coronate Queen Hillary. Now they're trying to coronate King Biden. And Bernie's campaign is saying, no, not happening on our watch again. And they're going to fight back against the propaganda. I would love to see them send out another memo fighting back against Politico, the New York Times, the Washington Post, and all of these outlets that have been pushing unbelievable propaganda. I mean, again, Politico wrote a piece with Bernie Sanders behind dollar bills calling him a cheap Jew. This is a media outlet, not a super PAC. And I want to show you a story that I think actually drives home the issue that Bernie Sanders' campaign is talking about. This was from CNN reporter Nia Malika Henderson this morning, or excuse me, 2 days ago. The incredible shrinking ... Bernie Sanders? Ooh la la. This doesn't sound good for Bernie or his campaign. Last go around, New Hampshire was everything to Bernie Sanders. His one sure thing as he battled Hillary Clinton for the Democratic nomination. He routinely packed venues with Bernie or bust supporters who saw him as the antidote to the kind of political incrementalism that they thought Clinton embodied. He was 2016's it boy, the grumpy grandpa who was loved by millennials and aging hippies, overwhelmingly white progressives. Oh, CNN being ageist now. But 2020 is looking a lot different for Sanders. While he can still raise gobs of money, he has much more company, which leaves a question. Who is Sanders without Clinton? Polls, yep, it's early, we know, show Sanders losing support as others such as Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, and Kamala Harris gain ground. A Monmouth University national poll released last week shows Sanders with the support of 15% Democratic-leaning voters, with a decline of 25% for March. Of course, as Status Quo has reported, the majority of those polls, including Monmouth, are wildly oversampling voters over the age of 50, which tend to be more for someone like Biden, and wildly undersampling voters under the age of 50, which tend to be for a candidate like Bernie. And then she points to a Monmouth poll of New Hampshire, where Biden has a 20-point lead over Sanders, roughly the same margin he beat Clinton in the state in 2016. Well, that's when I tweeted at Malia. Is that her name? Oh, Nia, excuse me. Because she lied. She lied in that story, which isn't surprising. I mean, it's CNN. Because Bernie Sanders, the poll she's referencing about Joe Biden being up 20 points in New Hampshire was a poll that barely sampled anyone under the age of 50. Don't take it from me. Take it from Bernie Sanders.
He's trailing former Vice President Joe Biden, and now in Sanders' neighboring state of New Hampshire. Polling shows Mr. Biden with a 2-to-1 advantage over the senator, and Mr. Biden went even further this week, publicly predicting a short primary race. Joining me now on Politics Nation, Bernie Sanders. Thank you for joining us, Senator.
Good to be with you, Al.
But, Senator, I want to get to your legislation that you and Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez has proposed. But I have to ask you, with New Hampshire's polling saying your neighboring state that Joe Biden is 2-to-1 ahead, is there a point where you start going after Joe Biden? Will you confront him in the debates? Will you confront him to show the difference between Biden and Bernie?
Well, Al, if you look at that particular poll, they had 2/3 of the people that they reached out to were over the age of 50, and that's not the way the people in New Hampshire vote. I think it was a selection of older people, which is not accurate.
Bernie! Boom! Knock him out! Boom! Look at Sharpton's face. What? You talking about math? Oh, God. I should have mentioned that was from a video I did before. So let's get this straight, folks. Let's get this straight. Fox News is awful. Fox News is awful. It's just propaganda, propaganda, propaganda. Lies, lies, and damn lies. CNN reporter, she's smart. She knows what she's doing. It's deliberate. Is doing a story with the headline, The Incredible Shrinking Bernie Sanders. Oh my God. The incredible shrinking Bernie Sanders. Say it 10 times quick. Based on polls that even Bernie Sanders has publicly called, oh, I just wanted to curse, but I'm not going to because I'm trying not to get demonetized. Publicly called bullpucky. Bullpucky, I say. Bullpucky. She's referencing New Hampshire polls that if the reporter, who's paid a lot more than I am, if the reporter read the poll, she would see that 75% of those that they sampled were over the age of 50. And again, not trying to knock people over the age of 50. I have plenty of them in the audience. There's a lot of them that are progressive. But by the data, most of those people in the country are for establishment candidates like Queen Hillary and King Biden. That's just the facts. That's just the facts. So the corporate media lies so much. The corporate media is trying to basically push an alternate reality using, wait for it, alternative facts. Alternative facts. Bernie Sanders, as his campaign just put out, is up 5 points compared to the last month, the largest gain of any candidate. Joe Biden has lost double digits in support over the last 2 weeks. I don't see any stories on CNN saying the incredible shrinking of Bernie Sanders, of Joe Biden. Do you? Of course not. Of course not. Because that would mean integrity. That would mean integrity. Thank you, Patrick Coyne, $27 in the GoFundMe. Rob Tierney, $20 in the GoFundMe. Anonymous, $10 in the GoFundMe. Now we are at $54,436. Oh my Lord, I believe that's $550 and, God, I'm terrible at math. A little over $500 till we get to 55,000. Now, if there is a humanitarian in this super chat that, or a few that have $500 to get us to $55,000, oh my God, if we could get into Sunday's live stream at $55,000 and then debut our big surprise that involves the campaign 2020, if we could get to Sunday already with $55,000 in our back pocket, whew, Jen, how many of these would I need? I might need another 2 if we get to 55,000. So, CNN is lying, and the question is, what do we do? What do we do beyond just calling out CNN? What do you do as a Bernie Sanders supporter or a Tulsi Gabbard supporter? Because remember, it's not just about Bernie Sanders. They're blacking out any coverage of Tulsi Gabbard. Thank you, Jedi Mullet 77, $5. Try this phrase: male cow fecal matter. Okay, I don't know who you're referring to, but I like it. So, what do you do as a Bernie Sanders supporter or a Tulsi Gabbard supporter or both when you see the same playbook happening? You see the same exact playbook from 2016 happening. Media blackout of Tulsi Gabbard, pretty similar to Bernie Sanders in 2016. The sheer propaganda, it's almost like on Monday morning, or maybe Sunday morning, over coffee, Politico, the New York Times, the Washington Post, and the Daily Beast, the Atlantic, all of them. It's almost like they get on a daily conference call and they just distribute and choose and split the workload up. New York Times, we got Monday, smear Bernie. Washington Post, we got Tuesday. Politico, we got Wednesday and Thursday. Friday, it's a random lottery. And then Saturday and Sunday, whoever wants to do it. This is how it goes. So I say, I'm a journalist. I'm not an activist. My activism is my journalism. Status Coup is a journalistic outfit. We report based on facts. We also give aggressive, real, keeping it real opinion based on facts. But I say the people, meaning you, have a choice. You're either going to take the corporate media propaganda lying down, because I do promise you it will have an effect, or you're going to stand up and fight back. I don't mean fight back violently, but one of the things that I thought was lacking during the 2016 campaign was protests outside of these news outlets. They have addresses. Now, I'm not suggesting intimidating any of these people. There's no room for that. There's no room for violence. But when is anyone going to start protesting outside CNN or MSNBC? When is anybody going to start actually calling out these people? Because they're not going to be able to ignore big rallies and protests outside of their propaganda offices. I say peaceful, but there was one rally outside CNN's Los Angeles office during the 2016 campaign. That was it. The New York Times is getting away with this. They're not seeing anybody challenging them outside their window. Same with the Washington Post, same with BuzzFeed, same with Politico, and on and on and on. When are people going to actually, not violently, peacefully, we're not talking about being Trump supporters and throwing things and yelling things, when are these reporters going to be challenged by people at these rallies, or have their offices called by voters asking them, and supporters saying, we expect a correction or you're going to see us outside your office protesting? Because I got news for you. The DNC and the corruption from the DNC, the corporate media corruption and propaganda, and the rigging that goes on every day from the corporate media. Lunar Wild, all I got to tell you, what you just said about Nina Turner not having interest in being vice president, I happen to know is not true. Just letting you know. So, The corporate media and the rigging that the corporate media is implementing is way, way, way more important than anything the DNC could do. Because the corporate media is winning the information war. They are winning the information war by brainwashing and forming narratives. This is how you depress voter turnout. This is how you turn off voters that are not diehard into politics like you and I are before they even look into a Bernie Sanders or a Tulsi Gabbard. You just make it seem, oh, it's over already. Joe Biden's up by 75 points. Bernie Sanders, oh, he's fading. Don't bother looking. That is how you rig an election, through news outlets. Yes, Upstate Raider, I am aware the DNC changed the debate requirements, and we will be covering that and much, much more during our Sunday marathon super duper 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 chat / GoFundMe marathon. Starting at noon Eastern, we're going to have great topics. We're going to have a big surprise for you, and we're also going to have great interviews that I've already recorded during the week. So I got news for you folks. I ain't telling you what to do, but just ranting about CNN on social media ain't going to get it done. And I say, peacefully, there needs to be some organizing, not just to combat the Democratic National Committee, not just to combat Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic Party, who are trying to kill Medicare for all, killing the Green New Deal, killing anything progressive. You got to start looking towards these corporate media outlets and treating them for what they are. They are extensions. They're not media outlets. They are public relations and paid public relations outlets for Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Beto O'Rourke. They are paid political operatives for Joe Biden, Kamala Harris to take down Bernie Sanders. That's all they are. The Robadio said it well, manufacturing consent. And by the way, I would love to interview Noam Chomsky before it's too late. Thank you, Corey. $14 in the GoFundMe. We are now just $550 away from $55,000. Really hope we could hit that $55,000 today. It would be great to go into Sunday, which we're going to try to raise a lot of money on Sunday for campaign reporting. And there's other outlets out there, and I'm just going to keep it real with you folks. There's a lot of other outlets out there that tell you to pay per month or ask for money, and they tell you they're going to do X with it. And what do you end up with? 24/7 Trump, 24/7 Russiagate, 24/7 substanceless, clickbaity distractions. Thank you, Elaine LaRoche, $25 in the super chat. Keep doing God's work, JC. I'm not God, but I'm trying to do the work for you, the people. So we're very simple. We're about show, don't tell. So when we tell you we're going to do something, we do it. We've raised almost $55,000 in this GoFundMe, and you know what we've done with it? In a little over a year, we've been to Virginia covering the pipeline protests, where American citizens were climbing up in trees and blocking pipelines from being built in their backyard by protesting atop trees to stop them from cutting down the trees. We've been to Flint many times, where we just broke a major story and are on the verge of a distribution deal for a documentary on that. Flushing Flint, the documentary that Ty has made, we almost have a distribution deal for Flushing Flint. We've been to Detroit to cover the water crisis there. We've been to Chicago to cover the violence and the police brutality. We just went to Seattle to cover Amazon's economic terrorism being perpetrated on the people by their greed, and Jeff Bezos is Dr. Evil. Go check out those videos. We've been to Dallas, where we're the only national media there to cover the execution of 26-year-old African-American Botham Jean, who was a 26-year-old black man just hanging out in his apartment one night, where a white off-duty police officer came through his door. She thought it was her door. She thought it was her apartment, and she shot him dead. We've been to West Virginia, where we interviewed Paula Jean Swearingen on primary night. We've been a lot of places. We've been to Cleveland, Ohio to cover. Did you know that 90 children, mostly black, were found to have high lead levels in their system in Cleveland? 90 children in 30 days? Bet you didn't hear that on CNN. Bet you didn't hear that on the Young Turks either. Now, I ain't trying to knock anyone, but I'm just saying, if the 440 of you watching right now, if you want 24/7 Trump, if you want 24/7 Russia, if you want substanceless nonsense, then this isn't the channel for you. But if you want more, and if you want aggressive, in the field, independent journalism, I want you to think about right now. We are 400, and it's actually 410. 410 members away. Excuse me, we're at 410 paid members. And we're trying to grow that because the more paid members we have, the more consistent ongoing revenue we have to get out in the field. So is there something you spend $5 on a month or $10 on a month that is less urgent than real in the field journalism that tells the stories you want to hear and the country, the people that aren't in the know like you, desperately need to see? Because there's a lot of compassionate people out there that will take action if they know what's going on. So become a member at statuscoup.com/join, and also go to that GoFundMe before Sunday and check and donate if you can. Jen will put it one more time in the super chat. And before I go, I just want to tease it one more time. Sunday, noon Eastern, we got a marathon super chat. We got a marathon live stream coming. We're going to try to raise a lot of money through GoFundMe. We'll have interviews with Bill Binney, the NSA whistleblower. We talk about the possible extradition of Julian Assange and the grave, grave danger that poses to all of us. We talk about the ongoing Russiagate hysteria. We have a heartbreaking and infuriating interview with a father who just lost his son to suicide. His son killed himself after his insurance company canceled his health insurance over a $20 bill. This was someone with depression and psychosis, and Fidelis Insurance canceled his insurance over $20. And when he didn't have medication left, he got severely depressed. He superglued a seatbelt to himself, and he drove into a lake and died. We're also going to have other topics, and we're also going to have a big surprise for you that's related to covering the campaign, 2020 campaign. Thank you for watching. Remember, Sunday, noon Eastern time, be there. Super chat. GoFundMe marathon. Gonna have big things. And remember, most people are not lacking compassion. Most people have no earthly idea what is going on in this country. But they aren't lacking compassion. Most people have no idea what's going on. Most people just need to get woke up. Peace.